Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that either.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
And it feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things, of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light, when you hit that first joint, in the morning, and you.
I actually feel a lot more awake.
So, how you been?
I've been okay. It's lots of rapid life changes at once, so I'm happy that this session comes at the time that it does.
Yeah.
Just lots of just different thoughts and new perspectives that I've been gaining, and it's been really, the parts work has definitely helped the work that we've been doing. So I look forward to the session.
That's awesome. And
yeah,
you recovered from your sickness?
What was that?
You were a little sick, I think, last time we talked, quarantining.
Yeah. I was quarantining. That's done now. And I got back to my normal life. And I think that period gave me a time to introspect and get familiar with that part that's been running the show. And I was able to go back and make some decisions in my life, and that's made other parts arise. So I wanted to talk about that today. So since then, I realized when I was in quarantine that again, I think I had chosen the relationship that I was in based on the safety part, just everything that I've been through. And I've been kind of reminiscing on past times where I've been more fulfilled. And so I made the decision that if I wasn't 100% in on my relationship or feeling really fulfilled, that I should end it. And so I went ahead and did that. I was working with that safety part and with other parts who want to experience more. And since then, I've had this other part come up that's this codependent part that feels a lot younger.
Yeah.
That's been reacting to me ending this relationship that was unfulfilling for me. And it's really been a really loud part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about that. So, you're saying that you have done a lot of the work with the parts and chose to end the relationship that you're in. Romantic relationship, I'm assuming.
What was that? A romantic relationship? Yeah.
And
yeah.
Did that with guidance from this, what we're calling the safety part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the safety part, I think what was what was really keeping me in that relationship. And just realizing that the other parts they'd feel absolutely unfulfilled and that the relationship was not fully fulfilling for me, I decided to end it. And since then, at the time when I ended it, I felt confident that, this is right for me. But since then, this other part has just like totally come into the picture. And it's a younger part, and it's almost like a very codependent part, very clingy. And it's present.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you already, like, what have you already done with this part, if anything?
I've noticed it. I've allowed it to be there, but I haven't dived into it the way that I'm hoping that maybe we can today. I kind of feel the energy of that part being younger, and that it does need it. It feels like it's clinging to this idea of this person, or just hanging on to the safe thing. But that's as far as I've gotten with it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's maybe try to start by just locating where in or around your body you feel that sensation and what that's like.
I feel like it's very much in the head, in like around my head or in my head,
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit of my throat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's it like? How does it show up?
And also, sorry, a little bit of my chest too, when I really, really hone in on it. It feels like it almost feels like a strange kind of like it's funny because I think there's been a previous part that's felt this way, but it's different. It's like a longing, but for something different. Like like an anxiety, a longing. It's kind of like a panic or like a crying. Like it's a mixture of those feelings.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as you notice it there, how do you feel towards it?
I just want to help relieve it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't feel any type of negativity towards it, just wanting to help it.
Okay. Great. Okay. So yeah, just see if you can send it that message that you'd like to help it and that you'd like to invite it to talk with you and see how it reacts.
Okay. It's receptive. It feels like it's overwhelmed with feeling, but it's receptive to accepting my help.
Yeah. Okay. I might be able to help it with that overwhelm. Okay, so the part's feeling overwhelmed. You've let it know that you'd like to talk with it. And just so I know, how are you feeling about listening to it? If it wants to share a whole lot with you, how are you feeling about doing that now?
I feel a little bit nervous, but I do want to help it. So if that's what it takes.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure that any nervousness or any other parts that are objecting to your work here, that we're addressing them, and
Yeah.
maybe just kind of asking them for space while we do this.
Yeah. I've heard it's rare, but I feel like I think all parts are on board with me helping this part.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can connect with this part, you might just start with asking what it would like for you to know.
Okay. It's just looking at me, and it's like kind of panicking, being like, I don't know if I made the right decision. I don't know if I made the right decision. I don't know. And it's very anxious and just like overwhelmed and like talking very fast and frantic almost.
Yeah. So you might want to, something I like to do when a part is like this is just kind of write down, if it has a lot to say, I'll just kind of get out pen and paper and write down all the little things, all the things that it has to say. And you don't have to necessarily share them with me. So that's kind of one way you could go with it, is just take your time and just say, okay, let's hear it, or we could just ask it more about, what's worried about.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll take some time because I didn't want to take too much time off the phone call, but I'll do the, I'll write down all the things that it wants to tell me. I'll go ahead and ask it what you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely all related to the breakup, my decision for that. And asking, did I make the right decision? Did I make the right decision? Feeling very responsible for that. Yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't know if you made the right decision, and it also has a feeling of responsibility about that.
Yeah. It definitely, I could sense that it feels very alone in the decision to break up, and almost as though like even though I was the one who decided, this part feels very responsible for this decision and feels very unsure about it.
Yeah. And does that all make sense to you, that it feels that way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So just let it know that that makes sense to you.
Okay. Okay. It's I feel like it's heard it, and it's like receiving it, and it's like slowly processing that.
Yeah. Can you see this part, or are you just sensing it?
At first I was sensing it, and now as I'm speaking more to this part, it's forming more of like a form.
Yeah.
And so I just see like kind of like a skinny feminine figure, like a small skinny feminine figure that feels kind of like disempowered.
Mm-hmm. It might be good to just keep kind of getting clarity on that and keep moving closer to it. And
Okay.
I don't know. So many of my parts need a hug, and it's kind of like, I don't want to, it doesn't mean that's the right move for everyone else, but a lot of times that's one of my kind of, I'm just always trying to get a little closer and make a connection.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting kind of energy. It's not malicious at all. I see it kind of like wearing white, almost like symbolism, like a sort of innocence. Definitely, I am closer. I would say maybe like 4 feet away.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You could just try asking it if it feels like you understand it. If you understand its concerns.
It says that it doesn't feel like I understand it, because if I did, I would go back to my relationship.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And maybe this is where you could ask, what is worried about happening if you don't go back to the relationship?
Okay. Lots of like information coming in from that question.
Mm-hmm.
So it's worried about how he might feel, hurting a good person. It's worried about what if, we made a mistake, or what if I made a mistake? What if, what about the like all the good things that we're leaving behind? Yeah, it's like flooded with all of these doubts and what ifs and what ifs and what about that and what about that.
Yeah. And does that all make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
So you can just see if you can show it some appreciation for its concern about all of that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So it's like the anxiety has receded a little bit by me saying that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of left with this like more kind of like sad or depressed energy instead of anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, but then what do I do? Like, what do we do? I feel this way. Like even though you're telling me it's okay, what do I do?
Yeah. Okay. And do you have a response to that, or?
I feel like, part of being just like part of my role as a leader of my life is like taking some risk and doing some things that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And, there's no way to not feel uncomfortable. There's really, like it's going to be there.
Right.
When you make decisions.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that it's the wrong decision. But I think it's hard because I know that the discomfort's going to be there. It's hard to help this part cope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What would it like to be doing with its energy inside of you? Like,
okay.
Especially if you could kind of heal that sadness.
Mm-hmm.
What else would this part like to be doing?
Okay. Let me see. it almost feels like it doesn't know anything but that like sad, anxious, like feeling, like that merry-go-round. And it doesn't, I don't think that it even realizes that it's in it. Like it's all that it is. Like it's all that it thinks it is.
Yeah.
So I keep asking, like, what is it that you'd rather do? And it's almost like she has no idea that there's other options for her. And she doesn't really know what suits her.
Uh-huh.
Like what events, what things she'd rather do. She doesn't really know.
Yeah. It could be a good time to just take some time now and kind of show her some options or
okay.
Yeah, just kind of brainstorm with her. Dream big.
Okay. I don't think it's an energy that realizes its own power, because when I did say kind of like what it wants to feel at the least, like how that energy wants to feel, it wants, it feels like a younger energy. So it wants to be like coddled and just cared for right now. Like that's all it wants. It just wants to feel safe and secure.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really know what to contribute or, think that it has the ability to contribute.
That's fine. It doesn't have to come up with any solutions to anything. That might be part of its anxiety. It's just it wants to know what to do, and maybe it thinks that it has, like you said, it felt like it had a lot of responsibility for this decision, and maybe that's a way of unburdening it, is just letting it know that it doesn't have to be making those decisions, and it doesn't have to feel bad about them or anything.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about just that? You called it, I think, coddling. How do you feel about doing that for it?
A little bit like I know that I have so many other things to do and to get to, so it almost feels like I'm taking a couple of steps back to make sure that this part is okay and safe. It feels like definitely like the part is a younger part, like it's my child kind of thing. Yeah. And like now I have to take the time to tend to it. So it feels a little bit like it's delaying me a little bit.
Yeah. And when you say like other things to do and get to and being delayed, like from what?
I guess from just like a new lifestyle that, in being single and having like a lot of options as to what I want to do and maybe finding a new job or moving and things like that.
And what about what about just right now in this time, just being with that part in the way that it wants you to be with it? Like,
okay,
just for 5 minutes, just for this, just for now, and just see how it reacts to that.
Okay. All right.
If you're all right with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to try it. Yeah.
Yeah, just let it lead. Let it tell you what it wants, and go for it.
I feel like as I try to comfort her more in the way that she wants, she she asks a lot of questions, and she's like still very anxious, and like she's trying to like tame her anxiety and regulate through asking lots of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, did you make that decision or did I? I'm confused. Like she's asking me all these, like I think she feels just really confused about the whole thing. Just.
Yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, whether you have the answer for her about who made the decision or any of those questions, you're gonna in the minimum kind of just validate that her questions are reasonable and that you're hearing them.
Yeah.
You want to hear them, and you're open.
Yeah. So I'm, taking the opportunity to just kind of validate that they're reasonable questions. It feels as though because I'm not kind of like answering them directly, she seems to kind of like shut down a little bit. I want to say.
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes, I mean, they may need to be answered, and I mean, if you're okay with that, then you can do it. We can do it together. Like we can answer questions. That one, like, did you make the decision or did this part?
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting because I think that her concern is just that she feels like she's to blame for this decision, but she doesn't feel like she necessarily agreed with it. Because like the first thing she said was like, if you want to make me feel better, just go back to your relationship. So it almost feels like this part's just, I don't feel like they made this decision, but now that it's been made, they, I think that this was the part, like it's a very codependent part, very anxious part.
Yeah.
Feels very like scrambled without feeling safe and secure, or without having me choose the safe and secure option. So it's almost like at this point when I'm not in a safe and secure option, this part awakens as though like its role had to do with feeling just safe and secure and just being in that place.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it just, for some reason, it's taking responsibility for this, even though it's not, I don't think that it made this decision.
Yeah, it might have helped you. It might have helped inform your decision, which is, we want parts to be able to communicate with us. It doesn't.
Yeah, I think it was the part that was in favor of staying in the relationship, or one of the parts that was. And when I went against that, it's totally like pulled the rug out from under her, and she's like scrambling.
Yeah. And how is she feeling about like her trust for you right now?
I think she thinks that I'm selfish. Like that's the really big one that stands out. I don't think that this part really trusts me because I made a decision that kind of really made her very uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you could ask, like, going forward, so that to avoid that in the future. Like, what does this part need from you to make sure that it feels like it's being heard?
Okay. Yeah, totally. Like the description that you just gave was exact. Like it just doesn't feel like what it wanted was considered when I made this decision.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's not important to me.
Right.
As though I'm deciding against my better judgment and something when a part of me still wanted that.
Mm-hmm. And that all makes sense to you that it would feel that way?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. It's interesting because it's a part that like knows that I will make, at this point, I think it's acknowledging that, I'm the adult. Like I will make decisions, but it's like, it's still, it doesn't know how to feel comfortable with the decisions that I make.
Yeah. Yeah. You might try asking if it's protecting other parts.
Okay. It does feel like there's multiple aspects. Like there's maybe like two more,
Mm-hmm.
but they're very like unclear and kind of fuzzy and like blended in. But it's not clear. But I feel like this is a there's more parts that are in agreement with this part, or that are being shielded by this part. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if that sadness is, what it's protecting, and that would be what it needs to feel like it trusts you, is for you to be able to kind of address that sadness. I'm just theorizing. I mean, this is.
Yeah. I think maybe an aspect might be the sadness, but it's also feeling like it's kind of like protecting just the ideal of, because right now, since the other figure had kind of like stepped away from that, like this grandfather or father like figure stepped away from just always being the person to make these safe decisions, and I took that on. And that really now my safety is me connecting with all my parts. It feels like this small part has been feeling just like defenseless. Like I think that part might have been protecting this part, and now this part feels like it has to protect other parts of me that want safety and security. It just feels like it was
makes
like
sense to me. Yeah, really does.
Like one post was kind of like abandoned, I want to say, or transformed into something. So now this part says, okay, well, I feel alone. I feel unheard. I feel like nobody's considered me in this.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do about the rest of us that want safety and security? What about us?
Yeah. Good questions.
Yeah.
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 Does it feel to you like just taking this time to get to know it? I mean, are you building any trust with it just by having the conversation?
It feels like angry at me and like it wants answers. I don't know necessarily that it's trusting or distrusting, but it just really wants to be taken care of. And it's a part that has a very specific idea of how it wants to be taken care of, which is basically me just always choosing the safe route. It's a very rigid like part. But not mean and not militant. It's a young part that's kind of like almost like throwing a little bit of a tantrum.
Yeah. I mean, it all makes sense that it would want that safety.
Yeah.
I'm really trying not to have an agenda here, but I think a lot of times these parts, they are protecting younger parts. There are parts that, are they're feeling left out. They're kind of feeling unloved. And sometimes that's the kind of big healing shift, is when you can love the parts and they're not looking outside for, that a safe decision isn't necessarily you being with a part, this person. A safe decision is you being with the part, and the part being able to trust you. So I know I'm just kind of explaining, but I would just kind of keep an eye out for that pattern or that possibility that that's what's underlying.
Okay. That's very helpful. Thank you. Yeah. Like I can, it's so funny because I think she's convinced like her way of feeling better is this person. But I know that like my work in doing this, you're right, is to try to get, my parts interconnected.
Right.
That was my goal in how to feel safe. Yeah.
Yeah. And you might just kind of, again, just keep showing her what that looks like. You can show her your work with other parts. You can kind of just show her options and what that would look like for her to have that trust in you. And the goal in IFS isn't for us all to just be islands and just be like asexual and like don't need anybody or anything like that. But with certain parts, like you said, this kind of feels like a codependent part. If it's using a lot of its energy looking outward, then just to kind of offer it that warmth at home feeling.
Mm-hmm. So let me see if maybe that's something that it's open to.
Yeah.
It's asking like, how are you gonna fulfill what somebody else does? Like, you're not this person.
Yeah. So what's it looking for in this other person?
Okay, let me ask it.
What does it want that you don't have?
It feels like it seeks, because I gave it imagery of like being hugged by this person and being hugged by me.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost feels as though a hug from somebody else is just more validating. I was trying to give these examples and feel into that difference. And
Yeah.
really, the only difference would be that it just, for whatever reason, it feels more validating coming from somebody else.
Yeah. 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 So it has some type of fear or worry about what it means to not have that external validation.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
You could ask. Yeah.
Yeah, I would stick with that, asking kind of, yeah, what's that about? What's so bad about that?
Okay. It feels like being validated by somebody on the outside of us feels like she's more important to the world, like of value.
Mm-hmm.
As though like she's heard somewhere other than just, my own thoughts.
Yeah.
And it makes her feel more important or more valuable.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much you want to push it, but it's kind of just sticking with that. And what would be so bad about not hearing that?
Okay. I'll ask it. It's at first it didn't even know that was like it's never given that thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then it started feeling a little bit more, I guess, accepting of just receiving my validation, but it does feel like I really don't, like I have to show that I'm actually listening to it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel like this part does not feel, I guess, acknowledged by me. It doesn't feel heard by me.
Yeah. Yeah. So just ask, what would that look like? How can you do a better job of that? Ask the part.
Okay. So it wants me to talk to or like kind of like listen, just even to acknowledge it just more often.
Yeah.
But also that when it has, because it does admit like I'm gonna have my moments of wanting,
Sure.
Of panic. Like it's I think an anxious based part that comes with anxiety. And it just wants to know that I can help it get over that hump of anxiety where it will wonder, what route are we taking? Is everything okay? Or, just needing validation. Yeah, a little bit. It needs a lot of reassurance, this part.
Yeah, and that makes sense if it's, if it doesn't have a history with you as the leader and it's been looking to other parts or to other people in the world to do that, then, it might feel like it will always be that way, but maybe it just needs to see that for a week,
Yeah. It definitely feels like it's very dependent. It has to depend on somebody else to feel heard or on me. Like it has, I think being a young part, it just doesn't feel like it was ever, I guess, just taught these skills or, that, yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, and how would you feel about like putting it at the top of your list of parts to check in with over the next week or 2 or 3?
I think that's a great plan. Like I'm definitely gonna do that and check in Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do my parts work every day, and I'm always trying to learn what else my parts need and this and that. And 9 times out of 10, it's that they want me to listen to them more. And, I just keep getting that message. It's like, okay. Like, so it's just about me figuring out how to do that, and what that looks like, and taking it really seriously, and really listening to them, because sometimes I think I'm listening, or I've set aside the time and I'm just kind of half-assing it or whatever, and they know the difference. So
yeah.
and it could be a lifelong process, but
Yeah, I'm hoping that with developing a better relationship, this part feels, it just doesn't feel the need to have to like run out and try to find it somewhere else, and jump into relationships that are unfulfilling, or
100%.
Yeah. This is, and I'm gonna sit with it some more and find out, what else it needs, for sure,
Awesome.
and what else it wants to say. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, yeah, keep me posted. I'd like to hear how that goes. And I'm sorry if I wasn't able to facilitate better. It sounds like this part just has a lot to say and a lot to share with you. And I feel like I don't need to hear it all. And I don't, that's kind of how I felt during our talk today. Was just, you have a really good intuition about a lot of this. And so I think that you're doing great in how you're approaching it.
Well, and I actually think you always do really good work. So I really appreciate your guidance. It's gotten me much closer to this part. I just sense it has more to say, so I'm just going to journal it, and I'll share it with you definitely next time. But
brilliant.
No, I think you were amazing today, and I thank you so much.
All right, great. Well, can't wait to hear from you again. Hope you have a nice week, and talk to you next time.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Zikri, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.